Adesina, Koiki here at Madison Square Garden for Big East Men's and Women's Basketball Media Day, getting ready for the 2015-2016 season. It is a pleasure to have Georgetown head coach John Thompson III joining us. And Coach, thank you so very much for joining us last season. Another great season into the NCAA tournament, a win in the NCAA tournament in pretty hostile conditions on the road and playing in Eastern Washington and having to play another West Coast team after that. How would you assess last season? How would you describe last season?
One, thanks for having me.
Yes.
Last season, big picture, you can look at it and say, okay, it was successful. This year, we want to build on that. The core of our team this year, we have 4 sophomores, and all 4 as freshmen, played significant minutes last year with Paul White, Trey Campbell, Isaac Copeland, L.J. Peak. And so you take that group, you throw in Devontae Smith-Rivera, who's once again first-team All-Big East preseason, and we have some veterans coupled with the freshmen. We have a group that's, I think, ready. All of our pieces fit, and so hopefully we can take the next step. Hopefully we can continue to grow as a group for this year. We're excited about this year.
Speaking of the pieces fitting, with all of the youth that you had last year, and you had the experience with a Devontae, with a Joshua Smith as well, to assimilate the youth and the experience, where was that point or tipping point where you thought, wow, this youth, a lot of youth, plus the experience is meshing very well? Was there a point in the season where you thought, wow, this transition is really going the way I want it to go?
Last year, I think probably midway through Big East season, you saw the snowball start to build. Hopefully we'll get to that earlier this year, knock on wood. We had a foreign trip this summer. We went to Italy, and so we were able to start the process sooner. We're here mid-October. I have freshmen that have already played in 4 games, and they've already gone through a series of practices. So, each year is different. And whether you take 1 senior graduating out of the mix or whether you take 3 or 4, once you start that new year, it's a whole different personality, it's a whole different group, and the challenge, the fun, what's a big part of every coach's job is now taking this new group and getting them to think as one, taking this new group and collectively figuring, hey, how is this group going to have success? How is this group going to win? Which will be different than last year, which will be different than next year. And so we're going through that process now, but that's what it's all about.
Foreign trips are always important for every single player and coach on the roster, but especially with newcomers, they're trying to really assimilate and be a part of the team and try to have a smooth transition. What have you seen what did you see from the newcomers as you went to Italy and started playing those games against professional ball players?
No, correct. It was a great trip for us. We had one of our freshmen, Marcus Derrickson, led us in scoring. Another freshman, New Yorker, Jesse Govan, led us in rebounds. And so I think they are ready. I think they got a lot of the young jitters out of their system, and they're ready now. And just as important, I think as a group, it opened our eyes to what we need to focus on, to what we need to work on, to what we need to improve on. And so coming back off that trip, you take some time off because the guys are wiped out. But since then, they have been very locked in. They've been very focused. They've been very committed to improving.
You've been a part of foreign trips, whether it be with your team or maybe coaching overseas during a tournament. When you plan those trips and tournaments, do you have a set strategy or plan as to, I want my newcomers to play this much, I want my veterans to play this much or not as much because you want to save them more for the season? Like, what itinerary do you have for the newcomers compared to the holdovers when you go on a foreign trip?
Right, that's a good question. That's a very good question. And I think it varies probably year to year, group to group. This past season, I wanted personally, and my staff wanted to see different combinations of guys together. Our team this year, I think, is very versatile. We can do a lot of different things a lot of different ways, and so we wanted to force feed certain situations and make this group play together to see, it's one thing to sit up in the war room and on your blackboard and say, this is going to work, and they're going to work well together, but to have the chance in August to throw them out there and see that was what we went into. My mindset was going into our trip, let's just get different guys in different situations so we can see, should we proceed with this line of thinking or go a different way?
of your group of sophomores, we talked with LJ Peak. He's a pretty soft-spoken person.
Did he say anything at all?
He did. We have confirmation from our camera person, Amy, that he did say a few things. Isaac Copeland is someone who, when talking to me, he wanted to be more of a vocal leader of the group of sophomores, to be sophomores. Is there anyone that you're really expecting more of than maybe the others? I know you want all of them to improve. Is there anyone you're expecting more on the leadership aspect than on the court in terms of basketball skills and talent?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that the way you want me to answer it. Okay. And that I'm expecting that from all of them. The person, I know you didn't want to talk about basketball, but the person I anticipate seeing the biggest jump in on the court is actually Trey Campbell. He was backup point guard last year. He's had a terrific spring, summer, and fall, and so I anticipate the general public seeing huge strides in his game, which will make us that much better.
This season on your schedule is Syracuse University. Now, of course, you're thinking about the first game of the season, then after that, and after that, before you get to Syracuse. But to have Syracuse on the schedule and the meaning of that game to the people in the D.C. area and to the people here in New York City, how important was it and is it to get Syracuse back on the schedule and rekindle what you guys had when both schools, institutions were in the Big East?
Before they left.
Together. All right, together.
It's extremely important. I mean, the Georgetown-Syracuse rivalry, I think, is one of the most special in intercollegiate athletics, let alone college basketball. And so they leave the Big East, and so we go through a couple of years where we couldn't work it out. But, Jim Boeheim and I both knew and wanted to. We knew there's something that has to continue. It means a lot to our institution. It means a lot to their institution, and it means a lot to this country. To be honest with you, I mean, you think of college basketball rivalries. You think Georgetown Syracuse is going to be one of the first 5 or 6 that you talk about. And so them leaving, it might possibly be a different feel because we're not going to. In the past years, we're playing them 2. You play them in the Big East tournament sometimes 3 times a year. Now it's just going to be once a year, home and home. But it's something that I thought was extremely important to get back on the schedule, just because of the history, because of the tradition. With the understanding things change. The landscape of college basketball is fluid right now, but that's something that we have to make stable.
John Thompson III, thank you so very much for joining us. Time flies when you're having fun. 12 years at Georgetown. Does it seem as if you took the head coaching job 12 years ago? Does it seem like that in terms of time? It just has flown by.
It has. And when you say that, it kind of like, whoa. I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate that we've had some really good players that have come through, that the program has had a consistency. And so starting year 12, some days it feels like it, but for the most part, it has not. And hopefully we're standing here 12 years from now talking about it.
Coach Thompson, thank you so very much. And I will have more gray hairs than you 12 years from now. I'm already sprouting them. Coach Thompson.
Well, I don't have any hair.
You win. All right, you win. Trust me. Coach Thompson, thank you so very much for the time. Best of luck and success to you and the Hoyas in 2015-2016.
Thank you very much.